Okay, are we ready? Welcome to the Lancaster City Council meeting. Can everybody hear me okay? Let's call it to order. City Clerk, do you want to do the roll call?
Council Member Authority Members Christ.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Mann.
Present.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chairman Smith.
Absent.
Mayor Chairman Paris.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Move to excuse the Vice Mayor.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
By acclamation. Okay. We don't have a quorum on the Housing Authority, so there will be no action on the Housing Authority this evening. And we have Pastor Paul Dennis from Faith Bible Church who will lead us in the opening prayer.
Let's pause for prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, our hearts are full of thankfulness as we reflect on your goodness and kindness to us. Thank you for our country and the freedoms we enjoy. Thank you for your provisions and protection for each of us. Please protect and help the men and women who guard our nation. Pray for those who are experiencing difficulties and trials in their lives at this time. Thank you for our city council, the jobs you've given them. Your word has said that you will instruct them and teach them in the way they should go. You'll counsel them with your eye. Give them your wisdom as they serve you in this community. Pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
And, Anthony Provenza, you want to lead us in the flag salute? The Pledge of Allegiance, I'm sorry.
Will all please rise who are not already? All those in uniform, please salute. All those in civilian colors, please place your right hand over your heart. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two.
Thank you. So, when are you going to be an Eagle? You're working on it, huh? Okay. Okay, we have a presentation from Captain Bob Johnson from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. As the commander of Lancaster Station, I'm always looking for better ways to serve the community. And tonight, I have the privilege of introducing my newly formed Community Advisory Committee. This committee is going to give me a clear and unobstructed artery to the community that we serve. It's going to give me reach throughout the Lancaster Station's jurisdiction. It's going to allow me to keep my finger on the pulse of an area that covers over 300 or 600 square miles of jurisdiction, and ultimately strengthening our partnership so that we can continue working together to make the Valley, this great region, a safer place to work, live, and play. The advisory committee is comprised of residents not only representing the city of Lancaster, but also the unincorporated areas that we serve, such as Antelope Acres, Quartz Hill, and Lake Los Angeles. Each of the residents making up this committee were selected because they are already deeply engaged in the betterment of this community. And they are now going to help me have a better opening up lines of communication for all the neighborhoods throughout our region. We will meet each month to discuss any and all issues pertaining to their particular neighborhoods, building bridges where needed, and knocking down walls which may be obstructing progress. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce to all of you my newly formed Community Advisory Committee. As I announce your name, would the following residents of the city of Lancaster please come up and join me? Two have recently graduated from our Community Advisory Academy, or Community Academy. They've graduated: Richardson Honore and Lisa Rodriguez. Tapestry Commission member Arturo Castillon. Dr. Gail Smith. I haven't seen Gail. Okay. Catalyst Foundation Director David Mayshore. Lancaster Baptist Church Associate Pastor Jerry Furso. And never too shy to provide input, community activist Lindy Williams. My favorite. Representing the unincorporated areas, Lake Los Angeles resident Mr. Manuel Magana. Quartz Hill resident Sheldon Carter. and Antelope Acres Neighborhood Block Captain Colleen Schiller, along with my Sergeant of Community Relations, Teresa Dawson. Ladies and gentlemen, help join me in welcoming Lancaster Station's newly formed Community Advisory Committee.
Lindy, you're part of the establishment now. She just quit. Yeah, let's get a picture. You want me to come down? Okay.
If there's any family members I'd like to get right. And let's just go you in the center of the mayor.
Pastor Calvin.
Embrace.
Let me do it first. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. One more. She quiet.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
And sir, they had a few things they want to tell me, so we're going to step outside and get started. So thank you.
Okay, we now have Dennis Varnum from the Work Resource Center. Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you to the mayor and the council, and of course, City Manager Bozikian for allowing us to address the council today. My name is Dennis Varnum, and I'm with our local WorkSource Center here. That's the Employment Development Department, and our WorkSource Center is one where we, what I like to say is help people design a strategy around getting employed. We particularly, with EDD as one of the largest public employment services in the state, we have a real affinity and love for trying to help employers, our local employers, match up with people here in the local community to help them find work. And that's really our charge, along with making sure that people are prepared and ready for employment. We've got an economy that particularly dictates preparation. And your local WorkSource Center, and I say your local WorkSource Center as a part of this community, is the place to help do that. And I wanted to come today just to simply introduce myself and a few key people that you will see at your local WorkSource Center every day if you come there. And we do invite employers, of course, to always visit your center, because that's when we talk in employment development language, our main customer, of course, is the employer, because that's the one who will enable us to hook up the clients or the local community folk to employment. And, of course, invite any of the council members there that would like to come to see our operation. The WorkSource Center, of course, here has been there for quite some time. I'm new to the center here, but not, of course, new to Employment Development Department and WorkSource Centers. I did bring along our veteran service representative, and in particular because the veteran services and the priority of services is key to making sure that the millions of veterans that are returning get an opportunity to serve not just their country, but also the communities where they live. And we want them to have all the opportunities. So with me today, I brought with me your local veteran employment specialist here in this area, J.D. Giles, and J.D. And also Judy Jones, our program manager here at the center, and Maria Serrano.
Oh, you don't want to come?
Now Judy manages
I think
our,
we should have Judy give a speech.
and she's very good at it, too. And Maria Serrano, who is our business service specialist. Now, you've probably seen Maria out in the community. She attends many of the chamber events, many of the local events where employers are involved. She's charged, of course, with making sure that there's that connectivity. And one of the things, when you have that connectivity, you garner a little bit of trust. And that's one of the things I always try to put out to our local communities and employers as well. If you come with credibility, respect, and fairness, then you're going to get something that everyone wants, and that's trust. And that's what we offer, as well as ability to find work at the your local employment center. And I'd like if J.D. would just say a few words about the upcoming Honor Hero Hire a Vet event that particularly we're very proud of at EDD and locally here as well. If you would, J.D.
I just echo the thanks that Dennis said to the mayor, the council. I'm sure most of you have seen me around town. I've been here with the department 20 years. My name is J.D. Giles. I'm a 20-year Army vet, career vet, retired, and been working with the department for 20 years. And my passion is to connect veterans and employers. That's what you'll see me doing. I get a lot of support from the city, from Nicole, up in the communication department, any events we're having. She helped me advertise or whatever. October, we're having our 6th annual Hire Hero, Hire Vet job fair. So if there are any employers in here, or if you have friends who are employers that would like to participate, it's a very good event. We usually have several thousand veterans, very qualified applicants at our job fair. We have transportation from here. Supervisor Antonivich's office, he helped me out with the bus to transport folks from City Park down there. It's actually held in Woodland Hills, but it's a great event. But again, thanks for coming, and remember, anything for a vet.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, is unemployment going down?
Here in the local area,
Yeah.
Unemployment is not going down.
That's not good.
That's not good, but we do see where more employers are coming to the center, and what that means to us is that employers have gained some confidence, and they're willing to reach out to us and say, hey, do you have these people that we're looking for? And that's where we come in as your local center. And we say, well, yes, we do, and if we don't, we can provide facility for you to come, and we can do some of that recruitment together. And that's going to push that number down.
Okay, terrific.
And we left some items in the back here for any of the employers in the room or people who are looking for work. So feel free to pick those up.
If I may say, Dennis, the Work Source program is amazing. We've had the pleasure of working with that, and the way you guys work with the people and the training you give them and the professionalism that is given to them is amazing. We've had a lot of people from the Work Source come to our place of business, and we've been very happy, and you guys are amazing at what you do, and we the community, thank you for that. So thank you so much.
And Maria, if you want to tell a little bit about some of the things.
Of course, yes. We just were hoping that maybe with this presentation, we could reach out to the city, in particular, any possibilities of us working together so that we have I guess easy terms would be a heads up when there's a new business coming to the area, which doesn't, I get a report from the city of Palmdale, actually, on a regular ongoing basis, but unfortunately that report doesn't get to me in time so that I can offer our services to employers where they can save literally thousands of dollars by coming to our facility to do their recruitment rather than having to go out and rent a facility. So if that's a possibility, we would truly appreciate that.
Well, hopefully in a couple of weeks, we will need several hundred people. But it's a secret, and I'm not allowed to say anything yet.
Okay.
But the moment I can, I will call you first.
Well, when you are able to, I would appreciate knowing that, Mr. Mayor. That would be a great opportunity for us all.
Can we make certain she's notified before anyone else?
I do work closely with Luis Garibay, which is wonderful. We do work together very closely, so he's always providing us with information.
Yeah, and let's just make this part of the, also, if you want to use our website, we could add a link, if not a page.
That would be
Okay.
wonderful. Thank you, much appreciated.
Can
Thank
we
you
do
to
that?
everyone.
Good, let's do that.
And if Judy would just say just a word or two about some of the programs. Judy,
See, I told you were going to have to give a speech.
Judy, our program manager, any program that happens.
Don't you just love it when they say, stand up there and give a speech? They don't give you any preparation at all.
Yeah, and I'll remember that he did this to me at this time at 5:15. But however, I'm very honored to be here. I've had the privilege to talk with your lovely councilperson, Sandra Johnson, and I met her at the Board of Trade, and I kind of fell in love with this place. I'm new to the area. I'm becoming an antelope, working in the valley. I don't live here yet. I live in Temecula, so I commute home once a week. But the programs that I supervise is the Veterans Program. We do the rapid response that generates people being lost their jobs because of foreign trade. So we have TAA. I just have every program. We have REA. This is to get people who are unemployed or underemployed back in the mainstream. So we're doing at least 3 sessions a day. We do workshops for resume writing. You name it, we do it. We are the state of California. We can provide any service. So if you need someone to come and talk to students, if you need someone to do a special program, I have staff that are qualified. And if it isn't ready, we can write it for you and get it done. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay, come on down. Tonight, we have, you're the state champions, right? Of fast pitch for the American Softball Association for California, right? I mean, the state champions right here. Look at that. That is incredible. You guys should be on billboards. We are doing something wrong. That's an idea. We need to do a picture and put them on a billboard.
There you go.
They're all about
Rhonda. That'd be nice.
We're going to have you on a billboard by the end of the month, all right? This is just too good not to celebrate, all right? Now, don't you wish you would have dressed up? Okay. So we have their coach here with us.
Justin Rocky.
Justin Rocky? Okay.
Pleasure, sir.
And
Steve Sanders.
Steve
Sanders.
Sanders? And, oh, you're going to help me. I didn't know you were on this team. All right. Steve Sandberg and Justin Rocky and Jose Lopez. Where is he?
He's
Not here?
practicing another team right now.
Well, he missed the billboard, didn't he? Okay, great. You want to go ahead and you announce them, and I'll.
You want me to announce them because they're not all here?
Okay. Well, we got to follow
You
this.
got them all there? If they're not here, I guess we can just hand it to Coach.
Amanda Allman.
You gotta line this up better. All right, want to do it over here? Does it work better? Yeah. Okay.
Sophie Tereshkoff.
All right.
1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Sophie Tereshkoff.
Family or friends want to come over here for a better shot?
Lindra Thinall.
So who was the pitchers? How's your shoulder?
Shoulder's good.
Really?
Danny Neighbors. Summer Begley.
Except the one.
Our team ranges from 14 to 18.
The youngest
We have
team.
14 years
All blondes.
in the championship.
Yes.
Good, how are you?
15? 15. Can you, wow.
Did a good job.
We have a very young team that won the whole thing.
Hey, that means we'll be champions next year too, doesn't it?
She's working.
Brianna Atkinson. Kylie Rollins. Ashley Viverito.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We still want to announce stuff though.
Oh, you still.
Taylor Crowder.
How old are you?
14.
17. So you're coming back next year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. That's you. We all get one? Yes, we did.
Can we get a group shot?
Yeah, we got to do the billboard. How are we going to do the billboard?
Yeah.
You guys got to get up. I'm going to put that in the background. Great.
We don't want Marvin in there. We'll step back.
No, Marvin, you see, we want you to get out of the picture.
You want to get this.
You want to backdrop.
Okay, we might want to group a little better.
Short friend. Am I short? I'm always short.
Okay, I'm going to have all you girls move out, and I'm going to have you line up from shortest to tallest. This is this arrangement.
I'm in the middle. I think I'm taller. I don't know. You guys want to do that? You're like this. Who's taller than you, Abby? You're taller. You're taller. Yeah. Shorter. You're shorter. You guys are not taller.
You want the coaches? You want the coaches in it too? You want the coaches in it, right?
Okay, so everybody just get back in the position you were in, and just same time. So, line up. Just line up.
I didn't know what I was getting. Was I supposed to stay shaking his hand? Wait, this is exactly what was in your ear.
We need the coaches. We need the coaches. Okay, we absolutely need the coaches.
Come on, Steven. Wait, it's nice to meet you. Are we supposed to Steve, this is what happens when you go to full vlog.
There you go. We'll work it. Don't worry. Don't get between your feet. He doesn't have
There we go. Right here. No, go in the middle. Wait, you need to go on there.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Do a couple. Let's do a couple right here. 1, 2. Councilmember Chris, can you move this a little more? Sorry. 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3.
That's an expensive camera, sir.
Perfect. Now let the family. Nice to meet you.
Don't you have enough pictures of us? Right here.
Send Marvin. That didn't look like my purse. All right. You guys aren't staying for the meeting? Okay, anything on the consent calendar we need to pull? Just 6 for me, right? Okay. So we're going to pull item 6. We've got one speaker card. Michael Reeves.
Don't.
I'm sorry, what? Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're okay. Good.
Mr. Mayor?
What?
Don't forget the minutes.
Ooh, we got to do the minutes, too. Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Let's vote. Minutes are approved. Oh, I skipped a page. That's what I did. Okay.
I'll move that we approve the consent calendar as currently comprised, pulling CC6.
Wait a minute, I got to do the announcement first. Oh, sorry. The consent calendars consist of items of routine business for which minimal or no discussion or special presentation is contemplated or required. These items may be acted upon as a whole with one motion, a second, and a single vote. If you desire to speak on an item or items on the consent calendar, you may fill out one speaker card for the consent calendar. You will be given 3 minutes to address your concerns before the authority or council takes action on the consent calendar. All speaker cards must be filled out and submitted prior to the consent calendar being called. This same rule applies if you wish to speak on other items on the agenda or non-agendized items at the end of the meeting. Following this process will allow us to conduct a timely and orderly meeting. Thank you. Now, we're going to remove item 6. There's a motion for everything but item 6. Is that correct?
Correct.
There's a second?
Second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Moving on. I'm going to recuse myself on item 6. It is near the property that my wife owns.
Do we have a motion and a second on CC6?
So moved.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Let's vote. 3-0 for CC6. Can we get the mayor back, please? Thank you.
Okay. Let's go to public hearing item number 1. We'll open the public hearing. Robert Neal. We don't have any speaker cards. You guys want to waive the... Okay.
Yeah.
Good with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
No.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 12-42, confirming the and ordering the diagram and assessment and levying of the assessment of Lancaster Drainage Benefit Assessment District for fiscal year 2012-13.
I second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay, we'll now open the public hearing on PH2. Hear the staff report from Robert Neal. There are no speaker cards. Do you want to waive the staff report?
Yes.
Any discussion?
No.
Is there a motion?
I'll move we adopt resolution 12-43.
I'll second that motion.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. We'll now open the public hearing on PH3, the staff report from Robert Neal. There are no speaker cards. Do you want to waive the staff report? Any discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll move that we adopt resolution number 12-44.
I second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Remember when these meetings used to take 5 hours? Fondly. Okay. We'll now hear a staff report regarding item J and B1 from City Manager Mark Bozigian. There are no speaker cards. Do you want to waive the staff report?
No, I'd like to hear it, please.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to hear it.
Mayor Paris, City Council members, you will also hear from Dave McEwen and Barbara a little later on. This is placed on your agenda after the state adopted Trailer Bill AB 1484, which was signed into law, I believe, June 30th. It gave sweeping powers, some likely unconstitutional, to the State Department of Finance to extract more funds from counties and cities. Dave will outline AB 1484 for you in a moment. Barbara will address the demand letter that we and a number of other cities, the successor agencies, received from the County Auditor Controller yesterday, and address the fact that we likely don't owe anything to the county. And Dave will outline options that you have. Before that, before I turn over to Dave, I'd like to briefly put this in context because it's important for the public to understand and for council and staff. The state has once again abdicated its responsibilities to the citizens of the state, and they're balancing the budget on the backs of counties and cities. It's not unlike a cage fight where counties and cities are now pitted against each other, and the state really doesn't care who wins because they always win. And that's going to continue over and over again until we as citizens of this state rise up and realize that the state is not doing their job and they're not accountable. And the reason I bring this up is because I feel like every time we read in the newspaper or see things about other cities experience financial troubles, the focus is on those cities. And I'm telling you right now, we'll beat this one like we beat everything else, but 6 months from now, we will be up here again because something else will have been done by the state that's going to harm cities or the county. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Dave and Barbara to tell you how we're going to address this issue, and we'll be available for any questions at the end. David?
Hey, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As Mark indicated, the legislature did adopt it's a fairly comprehensive amendment to AB X126 that was adopted last year as part of the budget that was the bill that dissolved all of the redevelopment agencies. This year's bill's roughly 75 pages of, I guess, increased powers for the Department of Finance through this. They've added a number of things. Some are not, completely awful. That we can make them work, but those are few and far between. The first and most significant thing, I think, is the requirement that the county auditor controller calculate an amount of money that they believe was paid in excess to the agency and get that back from, or to the successor agency, and get that back from them for purposes of distributing that to the other taxing entities. The county auditor controller was required to do the calculation and provide a demand letter by July 9th, or suffer a penalty on its own of 10% of that amount. The County of Los Angeles did in fact issue the demand letter. They issued demand letters to, I believe, around 37 or 38 cities in Los Angeles County. In our case, it's demanding a repayment of $5.7 million. The payment is based in part, and Barbara will go into more detail on this, but it's based on documents that were previously approved at the Department of Finance for the time period January through July of 2012. And those documents contain very inaccurate information. They don't reflect reality as to what we actually paid. And so we have a meeting with county tomorrow to go over that and see if we can't convince them that we are in fact right about what amount of money is required. I will not go into that. I'll let Barbara do that. The statute also clarified a number of issues with respect to the low moderate income housing assets and funds, and fairly liberalized what it is we can do with those. There's going to be an audit conducted at our expense, obviously, of the assets that have been transferred to the Housing Authority, And to the extent they conclude that they're not properly housing assets, those will be transferred back. We're fairly confident that all of our assets that have been transferred will qualify as housing assets, and to the extent, we have an issue on some, we'll transfer those back. There's also going to be a calculation of unencumbered cash and a requirement that that be transferred to the other taxing entities through the county. Now, if back to the January or the July 9th demand, we're required to make that payment by Thursday of this week, or we will suffer a 10% penalty in increasing by 1.5% monthly if we fail to do that. If we don't make the payment, then the Department of Finance can direct the State Board of Equalization to withhold sales tax payment on July 18th. We have a payment due then. The statute is unclear what happens with that withheld money. It just says they shall withhold it. So we all believe they intended to have it transferred to the county, but that's not what it says. They've also provided a provision for a finding of completion. If we've made the payments that were due to the other taxing entities with respect to the December 2011 payment, if we've done the audit of the low and moderate income housing funds and satisfied all that requirement, and if we've any amount that's paid an audit, or actually we've completed the audit of the other funds involved, the Department of Finance can issue a finding of completion, which then enables us to do a few things that we would not otherwise be able to do. And one of those is the repayment of the city loans. However, those only get paid once you've paid all of your other debt and your other payments. And right now there isn't sufficient money to do anything with that. So it's kind of it's a nice thing to have, but it's somewhat meaningless. And as Mark indicated, there's a lot of authority to the Department of Finance in the bill. They get approval power over everything. Every decision of the Oversight Board is reviewable by the Department of Finance. They have 5 business days to notify us whether they will review it, and then they can take up to 40 days after that to complete their review. With respect to housing assets being transferred, they have 60 days to complete the review. So, but everything has to be approved by them. They have complete veto power over every decision that is made. So it's a drastic increase in the powers of the Department of Finance. I think the other stuff is of lesser significance, but the key thing is this payment that's due on Thursday. As Mark indicated, we have some options available. One of those obviously would be to file a lawsuit to enjoin the withholding of the sales tax revenues, file a lawsuit challenging the requirement to make the payment based on certain constitutional provisions. Whether those have a chance of succeeding still is the subject of ongoing research to nail it down. We don't want to be in a position of spending a substantial amount of money if we don't have a substantial chance of success. The other option Thursday, looking at the amount of the sales tax payment that would be withheld versus what we would have to pay, may make sense not to make the payment. Let them hold the money and set up a constitutional challenge to the withholding of the sales tax. So those are some of the options. We're still exploring them. As I said, we have a meeting tomorrow morning with the county. I think we're all optimistic that that will result in a positive outcome where we will have to make no payment. So,
is that based on some history of there being positive outcomes with the county?
Actually, yeah. I mean, they have, on occasion, actually listened to reason. But that's county administration, not the other agencies that they control. I'll let Barbara explain some of the financial details.
I have a question for you first. How do we comply with these time limits taken into regard to Brown Act?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, give me those dates again, where the county just gave us a letter, correct?
Yeah, they gave us the letter. We have on your agenda tonight, as part of this item, is the adoption of two resolutions, one by the Successor agency and one by the city.
How are other cities handling it under the Brown Act? I guess it would...
Same way. They're taking as much action as they can take, noticing meetings and anticipating that they will need some action.
Okay. You got people all excited.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. First, I have to apologize. I'm struggling with my voice the last few days. The city attorney touched on many of the points I was going to talk to you about. The county was required to make calculations to determine whether or not there was excess distribution or property tax paid to the Lancaster Successor agency. They were required to make those calculations by July 9th. We were one of 37 agencies that received a letter from the county. We received it at 5:03 yesterday evening. And their letter demanded a repayment of $5,775,000 by their calculation. We believe their calculations are incorrect. We actually know them to be incorrect. They did not take into account debt service payments that we made in January of over $4 million. They also failed to take into account pass-through payments that we made in June to AVEC and Antelope Valley College. We had delayed in making those pass-through payments because the county had not given us clear direction whether they were going to make those payments. And so we waited until they confirmed with us that whether or not they were going to make them. They didn't make that confirmation until June. So we made those payments as soon after they confirmed with us. The total of those payments were $2.5 million. So with the $4 million debt service payments and $2.5 million pass-through payments, that more than exceeds the $5.7 million they're saying that we were paid in excess. Those payments were enforceable obligations under the definitions of AB X126. They had been subject to review by the Department of Finance and the county audit, and were deemed through those processes to also be acceptable and enforceable obligations. One explanation for the county's oversight or error in calculation is due to the methodology that they used in their calculations. They used our recognized obligation payment schedule that covered the period January through June. Our schedule did not call out January separately in a column. It was combined with prior months. And so when they looked at it, they were apparently in such a hurry to get the calculations done, they didn't bother to call and ask for any clarification on what obligations were paid in January, and so those payments were neglected to be included. To rectify that, we are going to provide you a revised recognized obligation payment schedule. It is the same as the prior one you had approved, with the exception of January being split out separately. And then we will submit that, if approved, we will submit that to the Oversight Board at their meeting of July the 17th, and then forward it on to Department of Finance for review again. We have scheduled a meeting with the County Auditor Controller tomorrow morning to review with them the correct calculation and request that they revise their demand letter to reflect the payments that were made, and to then come to the conclusion that we do not owe them any money. There is a possibility that they will not agree to revise the demand letter, and which would result in Lancaster being subject to the repayment on July the 12th. At this point, unless you have questions for me, I will turn it back over to the city attorney for him to discuss what those options may be. And did they get the recognized obligation payment schedule? Yes, they did. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I don't know if this would be a Dave question or a Barbara question. Do you feel that this is more of a knee-jerk reaction on the county's part based on the passage that they're just covering their bases? Where they're going to get nailed with a penalty, so let's just throw everything at these 36, 37 cities, because it sounds like to me they bought off on this once before. I mean, they accepted the
I think that's relatively accurate, that there's no harm in them doing a calculation and doing it the way they're doing it. They are not penalized for doing it incorrectly.
Right.
And so whether they spend the time to go check or not, other counties are in fact checking. They're contesting it with Department of Finance. But LA County with 37 cities either didn't have enough time or chose not to. And you can figure out which one of those is the case. And they sent out these demand letters, and then they'll deal with the corrections after the fact.
I can't believe...
At this point, the penalty for non-performance is on us, not them.
Right. I just can't believe how any small business, any business here in Lancaster, you couldn't keep books like this. To me, it's amazing. They had to sign off and accept the payments that we gave them historically, and now all of a sudden, we're rushing, just like in the case of the question of the Councilman Chris said, here we are in the 11th hour, scurrying around, and the responsibilities and the impact that it has to the city staff, and and then of course what does the public think? Automatically not necessarily understanding how things work. First interpretation they make is somehow that we've the 30, whether it's Lancaster or 36 other cities that are irresponsible. But like I said, I find it hard to believe that all of a sudden now 36 or 37 cities are screwed up.
I find that difficult to believe as well. The real problems that are created with this kind of legislation is the fact that this bill was only made available to the public and to the legislature, for that matter, 30 hours prior to its adoption. That doesn't give anybody an opportunity to offer up amendments or corrections or to even read and understand this bill. People in my office, and myself included, have been reading this thing since it became available, and I still find something every time I read through it. Now, I don't know how a legislator could possibly read through it in 30 hours and understand it, and then vote and be expected to vote intelligently on it. There's just something wrong with that whole process, especially since they've known for well over a year that they were going to get rid of redevelopment. So, it's time to air these issues and get the experts' input on them.
That assumes there's experts. Just thought I'd point it out. All right.
Thanks for answering my question.
Anyone else? Is there a motion to adopt Resolution SA 03-12?
Can we do them both at the same time?
No, they're separate. One's city, one's successor agency.
I'll move we adopt Resolution SA 03-12.
I second.
Let's vote.
The resolution says
It's unanimous. Now, is there a resolution to adopt is there a motion to adopt resolution number 12-46?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Did we already cover J and P too?
No.
No, we didn't. Okay. All right. You want to waive the staff report?
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with it.
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number SA 02-12?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. And now is there a motion to adopt resolution number 12-45?
So moved.
I second.
Let's vote. It's It's unanimous. Okay. Moving on to the council agenda. I just have one short announcement. It seems obvious to me and everyone else that the Vice Mayor, Ron Smith, will soon be joining the California State Assembly. With that scenario in mind, and even if it doesn't take place, but I'm sure that it will, when he becomes the assemblyman at the very next council meeting, I will be appointing Marvin Christ as vice mayor. And I guess that does require council approval, right? So let's just put it on the next council agenda to vote on that now, and so that it's already accomplished when...
Right. I think that's a great choice. I've worked now with Marvin on 3 other appointed positions representing the city, and trust me, there isn't anybody that I have seen in the last, I don't know how many years, be so aggressive to make sure that the citizens of Lancaster becomes the benefactors and that everybody's interest is well looked at, and I just want to convey that. I know I haven't said that historically, but I just watch Marvin in action, and he's very astute and does well on the city's behalf.
Yes, I agree. I'd like to add Marv is definitely an individual who cares about our community, cares about the citizens, and makes things happen. So I think it's a great, great choice.
Good. On that same note, we will have a vacancy on the council at that time, at which time I'll appoint a replacement to become a member of the city council until the next election. Okay, Lancaster Financing Authority, no action on the Power Authority. City Manager, any announcements?
Just one announcement. I want to thank city staff, Sheriff's Department, and the fair staff for an exceptional 4th of July. More people than I've ever seen at the fairgrounds, including at the fair itself. And it was a spectacular fireworks show, and I think given the crowd, everyone did a great job of working with each other and just having a good time.
I'd like to speak about, I'd actually given Mark an earful that night about the tremendous amount of people that showed up. I think it was far beyond somebody's expectations. We had a little bit of traffic on Avenue H, but what I'm amazed is every event that we continue to put on, I just can't believe how well received it is. It was like downtown, the downtown events, where it was just lots of people showed up. So, real impressed.
Good. Okay, City Clerk.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time for you to address the City Council on any items that are not on the agenda. You'll find speaker cards at the back of the council chambers. We ask that you fill them out completely and print as clearly as possible so that if necessary, the City Council, the City Manager, or City staff will be able to get in touch with you. As much as we appreciate your request to make comments before your 3 minutes begin, please understand your time begins when your name is announced. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. When you approach the podium, you'll see 3 lights. The green light comes on when your time begins, the yellow light comes on when you have 30 seconds remaining, and the red light comes on when your time is up. We ask that you be considerate of the allotted time to allow other speakers to have their 3 minutes as well. Following this procedure will allow for a smooth and timely process for the meeting, and we do appreciate your cooperation. State law prohibits the City Council from taking action on items not on the agenda, and your matter will be referred to the City Manager. Thank you.
Mr. Reeves.
Mayor Paris, Council, staff, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to read something. This is from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia on the Internet. It has to do with the broken windows theory. The broken windows theory is a criminological theory of the norm setting and singling effect of urban disorder and vandalism on additional crime and antisocial behavior. The theory states that monitoring and maintaining urban environments in a well-ordered condition may stop further vandalism and escalation into a more serious crime. This theory was introduced in 1982 by the famous social scientist James Q. Wilson. The reason I bring this up tonight, I know you've all driven in town and you've seen people not be able to drive. They don't make turn signals. They stop in front of you. All sorts of things that have to do with violation of traffic laws. And I mentioned it to the captain a little earlier about it. And on the way to the council, I observed that about 20% of the drivers did not make turn signals. You had 2 children running across the street. So I think it would behoove the city to ask the sheriff's department to enforce the traffic safety laws in the city of Lancaster more diligently in the future. I'm not criticizing them. They do the best they can, and they don't necessarily have to cite people when they stop them, but it would be beneficial if some of these drivers in this town used their turn signals and showed a little courtesy to the rest of us. Because as far as I'm concerned, we have a lot of accidents waiting to happen, and we can prevent them. And one last thing, aside, we were talking about California state government. On the election ballot in November of this year, you will not be able to write in candidates for public office per the legislature of the state of California. California will be one of 2 states where write-ins are not allowed. And I want to let you know right now, I am challenging that law, and I'm trying to get some groups to support me so that in the November election, people of California in the 36th Assembly District will have the opportunity to write in candidates that are anti-tax, pro-cities, and anti-giving 2/3 majority to the majority party. And I'm a member of the majority party, but I'll be darned if I'm going to give them 2/3 majority to taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess without the write-in, that means I won't be moving to the White House this year. Oh, never mind. Okay, any comments from the council?
I'd like to echo Mark's remarks in regards to the 4th of July. Staff did a wonderful job. There was so many people. The bull riding was exceptionally good this year. It was really good. The whole thing was just excellent. So, Patty, you did a great job. Thank you.
You know, if I'd only known so many people would have been there, I would have came and rode one of the bulls. You know.
Heck, they were riding lambs, and they were riding lambs and little calves.
I don't want to hear about that. Okay, thank you. The City Council is now adjourned until Tuesday, July 24th at 2012 at 5 p.m. Carol, turn on the soup. I'm coming home.